कैवल्य
Namaste. Welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam. Sound? Check. Namaste and welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam. Here we are, the second class this year, and hopefully the last class for now in the water element. Let me see, I hope I complete all that I want to complete. So let's see how that goes. Before we begin this class, let us start with 3 ohms. As always, it helps to get the mind more mindful and allows us to be more focused and attentive in listening. So let's start with 3 ohms. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you for joining into this class. So for the last 8 sessions, long sessions, we have been studying various aspects of the water element. Today I just want to summarize some of those and talk about 2 important practices that we can take home from all of this. Because like I always keep saying, without the practical element, all of this pretty much becomes a mere theoretical subject that might interest us, intrigue us for a few days, a few weeks, and then it slowly goes into the background and we forget what we heard and what we studied. So without much ado, let's begin our journey into this Panchabhutas. We've already begun the journey. We started with the earth element in the Kanchipuram temple, and then we are learning about it. So my heart and my soul is still in the Sri Jambukeshwar temple, and I always bow to this temple, to the Shiva energy in this temple that has guided in our learning in all these sessions. That is how I feel this kind of knowledge is best shared. Of course, we have the technology and slides and all these fancy cameras and all of that. But the spirit of learning, the spirit of you attending this, hopefully is not compromised. And you are able to give full attention to the subject. And we begin to learn the subject with reverence and respect. And that is how we approach subjects of the spirit. In the last class, we talked about the 6 days, and I had a few people who wrote to me and said, can you explain us a little more? Can you make it a little more clearer for us with the help of tables or some examples? And so I thought we'll just spend a few minutes or so before we go to the actual mudras and kriyas that I want to talk about in just making this a little more clearer, because you see what happens is food is an important part, right? We can't dismiss that. It has become way too important. We've kind of everything revolves around food, but that's a different story. But if we are able to, the more we educate ourselves, the more we become aware and mindful of the quality and the type of food that goes into our system, the benefit is phenomenal, right? Even in a weight loss, a simple thing like a weight loss program, 70% is food related and 30% is exercise related. You can do all the exercises you want, but if your diet does not supplement that, then you're pretty much back to square one. And so let us take a few minutes and understand this more in detail. If you have a pen and paper ready, make your notes. Otherwise, you always know this is class 32, and you can always refer back to this. So we talked of sweets, the mudra, which is earth and water mixed. What are the examples of sweets? So you have, of course, fruits that are sweet. You have papayas that are sweet, mangoes that are sweet. Apples can be sweet. It can also go into the sour. So these are not, again, watermelon is sweet and watery. So juicy, watery fruits are a good example of sweet fruits. So I'm not going into what kinds. I just give you an example of mangoes, papayas, watermelon, and so on. The other ones are berries. Now, in this part of the world, we get, when I say this part of the world, in America, we get blackberries, we get blueberries, we get raspberries, strawberries, and so on. And in India also you get berries, but of a different kind. We call it bher. The word berries came from the word bear. Bear, not bear. Okay. Maya is also my Hindi teacher, so she helps me with that. Otherwise, I have this Bombay pronunciation. We don't differentiate between k and k. Anyway, bear. So bear, the word berries come from bear. So there are lots of berries that are available in India as well. So you can do your research. But berry is, when they are sweet, they come under sweets. So it's a good way to have berries with yogurts and have it as a dessert at the end of the meal if you have a sweet tooth and you're aching for some sweets. So that is one. The other source of sweet that you may want to include in your food is our dates. Dates is a good example. Then you have, this is maple syrup. Maple syrup is again only perhaps available in this part of the world. So it is for those of you who are from North America, China, I'm sorry, not China, Canada and America and so on, you may get it. But these days, of course, you get everything everywhere. So if you do feel, these are again all organic and natural, okay? I'm not talking of anything store made. So maple syrup is a good source of natural sweet. Maya and I don't take much of maple syrup. I've never felt the need to have it. So we don't. However, we do take honey once in a while. I do take honey once in a while. When I have some herbal tea, then I put honey. Before my satsangs in the evening when I want to sing, I take a spoonful of warm honey that eases my throat. So honey does help. So organic honey is a good example of source of sweet. What can you do? It's up to you and your creative powers, how you can use all of this to make tasty dishes. But I'm giving you sources of sweets. Then comes, and I kept for the last, is jaggery. This is what jaggery looks like for many of you. Some of you ask, what is this jaggery you're talking about? It's unrefined sugar, basically. It's just sugar exactly as it comes out of the sugar cane, and then they heat it up, and then they break it into rocks, and that's pretty much it. That's what you get. So I've been in the Puttaparthi villages where they make these in the sugarcane season. So it's interesting to watch how they make it. Now, there are a lot of sweet dishes you can make with jaggery. They make sweet porridges with jaggery and rice together. Again, when I talk of rice and wheat are also considered sweet. But the kind of rice we get today, the kind of wheat we get today, the grains are very refined, very polished, and stripped of all fiber. So even though you say protein is there, it does not absorb. The body does not absorb it because there's no fiber. So there is no point in saying, my grandfather had rice, I'm also going to eat rice, nothing will happen to me. In principle, you may sound right, but the kind of rice that your grandfather, our grandfather, and the great grandfather, our great grandfathers had were very different. You get some of that called kaikuttal arisi, where there's a Tamil term anyway. There is husk in the grain of rice that forms fiber, and that fiber is very important. Why don't we eat it? Why is it not available? Because there's no demand for it. The taste is not good. It becomes a little more chewy than the rice that you're used to eating, where you hardly have to bite your food. You just put it in your mouth and it melts. That is, so that rice concept, I am not going to be jumping at it right away, saying mix jaggery with rice and have it. What kind of rice comes the question. We'll come back to this and explore it as part of the fire element if we get a chance and the opportunity. But so you have to watch out for what kind of rice you use to mix with jaggery and make. Okay, make sure you have a lot of fiber in the rice. Then it becomes a sweet worthy. Then rice itself becomes an important, good source of protein. So jaggery. Now there is another interesting dish. I just put it out there because in all parts of the world, this seems to be quite popular. In this part of the world, in America, it's called brittle, and in India we call it chicky. In Tamil Nadu, in the south, we call a kind of this fruit but rolled into balls. It's called kadala urundai. So you take peanuts and jaggery, and jaggery is melted, hot peanuts, and you just make it into little balls, and that becomes a dish. So that's a healthy, provided you get good jaggery. It's organic jaggery and organic peanuts and all of that. It becomes a good source of a healthy source of sweet. So there is no refined sugar, no white sugar there. So that is something you could consider to give your children, for example, or yourself. Bring in chickies are a good way to eat. And they last forever, right? And the shelf life is also very high. Then of course I put this puffed rice and jaggery here because it used to be, when I was growing up, it used to be my favorite. My favorite thing, and they used to make it in Diwali, right? They used to make it in Diwali, I think. I don't know. In one of these festivals, my mother used to make it. Anyway, it's very tasty. But then, unfortunately, now, because those are the days we used to take the rice grains, go to the chakki, or where we call that, give this guy and watch how he powders it and brings it back home. So it wasn't that high-end, refined kind of rice. Yeah, what? The mill, yeah. Chakki, I said. It's a mill, yeah. So it was a different day, 50 years ago. But now it's, you go to the store and buy ready-made rice, which is stripped again of all fiber and all the vital, essential minerals and everything is stripped off. What you get is just plain rice, which is extremely high in carbohydrates, and so that is one of the main causes of type 2 diabetes today. So be careful. Though I put the picture there, it's for my own satisfaction. If you do go for puffed rice, find out what is the quality of that puffed rice. So these are some of the sweets, that sources of sweets, and from here you can take it and build your own. For many times when, for example, in our home, when Maya and I want to eat sweet, we just cut fruits and berries and mix it with yogurt and have it. So we have a fermented portion of yogurt coming in, or we can put cream, whipped cream and berries and all of that. So you can have that also in your diet. Consider healthy sources of sweet. Avoid white sugar. But for sweet, these are some of the things you could consider. Then we come to sour. Sour is amla, which has got earth and fire in it. So let's see what they have. So when you talk of sour, you're talking of lemon, you're talking of vinegars, apple cider vinegars, and all kinds of vinegars. And you actually basically here in this part of the world, we Carrots are cut and stored in vinegar. You have cucumbers that are stored in vinegar. They are all called pickled vegetables. Fermented food, of course, for many of us from India, we are familiar with yogurt and buttermilk, yogurt especially. For those of you from South India, you're also familiar, and of course, that's available even today in restaurants now. But however, there's a catch there. So, what is that that's available? That's idli and dosa. The batter, idli and dosa, they are fermented, right? That's why they don't smell very good. They don't taste very good because they are fermented. And what happens when things are fermented? It creates a different kind of bacteria, a healthy form of bacteria that that creates microorganisms that goes into your system and breaks down the carbohydrates and all of that. So it's a good thing to have fermented food in your diet. But be careful how much of fermented food you have to get. You can't get too much. You'll feel very bloated, very full, and it may not be healthy to have too much of them. So you have to be very prudent in introducing fermented food, which is one of the reasons why in South India, whenever you eat food, towards the end, you have a little rice and yogurt, and you call it tair sadam. So you have curd rice. That is the reason why curd rice becomes very popular and is still today very, very popular in India, because at the end, you put curd into your system and that goes into the food and destroys all the unwanted bacteria and builds good bacteria that breaks carbohydrates. So something for you to consider. Some of you may not be used to yogurt at all. I love yogurt. We were vegan for a few years, but I just couldn't give up yogurt. So I came back to yogurt and I found my health much better. So again, organic yogurt, good quality yogurt is always a great way to introduce fermented food, in addition to all these tasty pickled food that you can also do. Tamarind, of course, can also be, you have tamarind juices. You can use tamarind in cooking. Maya makes delicious soups that we call rasam, which is I think the closest word you get is soup. So in that you put tamarind and you boil the water. So a lot of essence of tamarind gets in. So there are so many ways, right? I'm talking as if I'm an expert in the kitchen. I don't. But these are simple things that I tell Maya, we need to include these, and then she comes up with all these recipes. So you do your own research and see how you can bring in tasty food, make your food very tasty. So think of the sour taste, the lemony, vinegar, pickles, fermented tamarind, and all of this, tamarind chutneys, and all these that you can make if you're having raw salad. This is what we do. Why do I like salad so much? Because I bring in taste, these into my salad. Then it becomes like what you would get in Juhu Beach in India and Bhel Puri. So you can make it very, very tasty because you bring in sweet and sour. You can bring chutneys made of dates. You can make chutneys made of tamarind. So now you have sweet chutney, you have a sour chutney. You can mix them and you have tamarind date chutney, which adds so much life into otherwise a boring salad. But when it is raw, what happens? You still taste the bitterness of the leaf, and then you taste all of this separately. It keeps the taste buds alive. It's an excellent experience when you eat tasty food like that. You see the color, right? It's very colorful. Anyway, we'll share more of that as we go along. I'm hoping to do short, candid videos of what we eat every day and things like that. We'll see. Not promising. All right. Then comes the astringent. Astringent. There were questions as to what is astringent, is earth and air. So unripe bananas are called astringent. Partially ripe or unripe bananas, especially unripe. And as they're slowly getting ripe, they are tending to go towards the sweet. So before we go to the proper unripe bananas, one thing I do want to point out, since we are at the bananas, I know we all know what bananas look like, right? But then we tend to eat bananas when they are fully ripe. Now, that is not the right time to eat a banana. A banana is eaten when it is something like that. There has to be an element of green on the skin, on the surface of the banana, and then you eat the banana, it becomes a lot more effective. The potassium and all of that the body absorbs through the banana. Otherwise, when it becomes old and very ripe, it's like an old man who cannot do much work. It's like that. Every fruit, when it crosses a particular stage, you just have to give it back to nature. Don't think, oh my God, I'm wasting it, I have to eat it. Don't treat your body as a garbage bin. Think of this is a temple. Don't say, oh, I don't want to waste it, so I'm going to eat it. Don't do that. Your body is not meant to take in garbage. Once the fruit is crossed it, then there are other creatures in. You can compost it and reuse it, recycle it in nature, but don't consume it, because then it is not healthy. That is why they say bananas are not good for type 2 diabetes. But if you have unripe, half-ripe bananas, they may not be as tasty, they may not be as sweet, but they are very, very, very healthy. Trust me, you will not put on weight when you eat that kind of bananas, which are young and tender. Same thing with coconut water as well. Young, tender coconut water, where there is no coconut inside, where it's only water. That coconut water is not as sweet as the one that has got coconut inside. It has become old and very sweet. Now that has less benefits from health point of view. It's more tastier but less beneficial, because the coconut is on its way out. Okay, but when you take tender coconut, where there is no coconut inside yet formed, there's only water. The water is less sweet, but is far more beneficial. Again, a lot of potassium the body can absorb. So you have to be wise in choosing it. Anyway, so astringent, unripe bananas. Now, when we talk of unripe bananas, this is the actual one, the really unripe ones, right? We still use it, not raw, but you can cook it, you can steam it. You can steam it, right? Okay. Yes, you can steam it, cut it like chips and have it, steam it. Now, in South India, they do make banana chips. I know many of you are already familiar with it, because we go to a store and buy a packet of banana chips. What is the problem with banana chips? If bananas are good, the problem there is the oil that they use. When it is originally discovered in Kerala, in South India, they use coconut oil. Organic, cold pressed coconut oil is what they use to cook it. Because coconut oil, along with sesame oil, these are two very healthy oils. You can safely use them for cooking. We don't use coconut oil at home because we are not used to cooking in coconut oil. We are used to, from our very birth, in cooking in sesame oil. So we do almost everything for me is sesame oil. Right from application externally to the body, to internal consumptions and so on. I'll give you some more tips as we go along with how we can use sesame oil on an everyday basis. So sesame oil is what we use. Sesame oil and coconut oil can withstand fire, the temperatures, very high degree of temperatures. The molecules in them don't change. The chemical structure doesn't undergo any drastic changes. Whereas vegetable oil, sunflower oil and all of that, that is our main problem with deep fried foods. That is more tastier, but then there is a whole molecular structures of these oils have changed. So they are not really considered healthy. Therefore, when I say banana chips, I again use a word of caution. It's a word of caution here. If you have to have banana chips, make sure you get organic coconut oil and you make it at home. If you have to, but again, it's deep fried, so you got to handle it carefully and have a little bit of it. These are all supplementing your food. They don't become big snacks by themselves. All right. So much so for that. Because when I put this there, it doesn't mean, oh, Sundar put it there, so it must be good. No, not necessarily. All of these have to be taken in the right quantity. Pomegranates are an amazing source of astringent and an amazing source of antioxidants, building immune system, health, and all of that. It's my favorite, next to mango, is pomegranate for me. I love them. So pomegranates. Then you have cranberries, again, an excellent source and a great way to keep your kidneys in very good functioning state. So when you're practicing Vajroli mudra, where we are working on the urinary bladder and all that, cranberries will help your Vajroli mudra. So when we talked about Vajroli mudra and the earth element, but Vajroli mudra is practiced as part of the controlling the water, right? Earth and water are very close. So when you practice Vajroli mudra, the food that you can eat, one of the important things that you want to slowly bring in, cranberries. Now cranberries, when I say, you don't just think of dishes and all that, just buy them raw and have 7 to 8 pieces. That's all you need to do. Okay, 7 to 8 of cranberry in your diet, in your salad. Every morning after my exercise, I just take berries and nuts, and an important component of those berries is cranberry. So cranberries, and then of course green beans. I think that's what they are in the picture. Yes, green beans. So they are also astringent. So these are, and there are many others also. I'm just giving you these options which may not have crossed your mind as to what is astringent food. Some of them can be had raw, some of them cannot, like green beans and unripe bananas may not be ideal as raw. So you could steam it or cook it very less, so there is a lot of life in it, and then you can consume it. Then we talk of course, then you have okra. Okra again cannot be had raw. I've tried it. It really doesn't gel with me raw, so I can't suggest that you can eat it raw. But it's again one of my favorite vegetables. So you can cook it in sesame oil. Is that what you cook? Okay, sesame oil, and you can eat it. It's very tasty as well. It's also called lady's fingers. I don't know why they call it lady's fingers in India. I prefer the word okra, but I don't know. Maybe at some point it did look like. So I looked for pictures when I purchased these online. I was looking for something that looked like lady's fingers, but none of them did. So I don't know. So if your imagination says they look like lady's fingers, fine by me. But they also call lady's fingers. Lady's fingers, okra, they're all the same. Okay, let's go to the next one. Salty. So this is a simple one, but there are a variety of salts that you can have. You have sea salt, organic sea salt. You have Himalayan pink salt. Then you have what is called the black salt, kala namak. We made one of our first videos we made in the KYG kitchen was we used kala namak in a lemon tea. So kala namak is very good for health. So black salt, pink, Himalayan pink salt, sea salt, all these are good sources of salt in your diet. Again, be very careful what kind of salt, how much salt you need. Now, for those of us who are from India, we have what we call pickles. They are extremely, extremely high in their sodium content. So if you're taking even 1 spoon, that perhaps has all the salt you need for the whole day for a regular lifestyle, unless you're sweating it out a lot. So you have to be very careful how much salt is in your diet. One of our problems with tasty food is we have become addicted to excess salt in the food. We have to redefine our taste buds and begin to like things which have less salt. That's all it is. The tasty food is not out there. The mind decides the tasty food. That is why one man's food is another man's poison, right? Some people just can't stand the taste and the smell of Indian food, whereas somebody else can say, wow, I cannot live without that. That's fantastic. Where is that? If the food is tasty, then it should be same for everyone, right? So learn to redefine taste in your mind, and train your taste buds to live with less salt. Seafood, sea vegetables, not seafood, sea vegetables are a source of salt. Of course, there's fish and all of that. So I don't take it. I don't recommend that. I can't talk about it. That's all. So I'll leave that out. But sea vegetables are seaweeds. Now I did try them, and to be honest, I don't know. We had to do some magic to eat it. So, and they were expensive in this part to get it. So I'm not going to be eating them, but they are considered very healthy. So maybe I'll revisit them at some point and see how we can include them as part of raw salad, which is what I want, because I know once I cook it, then most of the essence of the vegetable, the prana in the vegetable is gone. So I like to eat it along with the prana from the sea, but it's not easy. So I need to do some sadhana to get there. But sea vegetables are a great source. You have black olives that are also considered and comes under the category of salty food. So black olives are a great source of salt in to add taste to a raw salad diet. Then you have pungent. Pungent means hot, spicy, I would think. So they are hot peppers. Then you have ginger. You can put ginger in your tea and you can have it. Onions, garlic, mustard, all these are come under the category of pungent food. So you can see how much of pungent food that you have in your diet. There are also spices. See, in a regular Indian kitchen, one of the reasons why you have over 1 billion people in India, and from a health perspective, from a cleanliness perspective, it's always a challenge, right, in India. But yet, you don't have extremely high death rates and all of that. It's not scary that people don't even go there because people are dying left, right, and center. None of that happens. Why? Because almost every kitchen in India has a fantastic array of spices. That includes turmeric, mustard, black pepper, red chili pepper, cloves, so many. Maya has got a very delightful little bottles, each of them, and all of them find their way into food. So imagine over weeks and months and years, your system keeps absorbing them as medicine. Where we go wrong is when we overindulge in rice, overindulge in sweets, and so on, unfortunately. But otherwise, a nice collection of hot spices in your kitchen counter is a great way to bring health. So most of them are pungent in nature. So that's, I think there's one more. Yes, bitter. How can I forget bitter? So you have raw, green, leafy vegetables. Most of them are bitter, comes under the category of bitter, right? Nobody says, I'm hungry, give me a spinach to eat. I would do that. I love spinach. I've grown to love baby spinach. I used to have baby tender neem leaves in Puttaparthi, in Prashantinilayam, in Baba's ashram, where we grew, because my dad had diabetes, so he would regularly eat it. And so I would join him every morning, break my fast with tender neem leaves, the little brown golden ones, not the full grown neem leaves. Again, you have to catch them in that tender age, not when they are fully grown. There's a lot of medicinal properties there. So neem leaves and all of that. So all leaves, basically, most of them, kale, spinach, arugula, and all of that. That's part of our regular food that we eat on an everyday basis. So I get to taste a lot of bitter. Bitter gourd is something we don't get on an everyday basis here. But bitter gourd, this is what I was talking of. Gourd, in the gourd family, there's a bitter gourd that comes. Even the rest of the gourds can still come under the gourd, the bitter category. So try and see how you can bring that. Then, of course, you have turmeric comes under the bitter category. Turmeric with milk that you have as medicine in the night. So that's not very tasty. Why? Because it's bitter. And then, of course, comes herbal chai, herbal tea that you can have. Black tea, green tea, brown tea. Now they have white tea also. I don't know what that is. But herbal teas without milk, without sugar, of course, that becomes considered bitter. And again, organic coffee, which is what I have. Organic coffee is also considered bitter. You get to taste bitter in the morning. It wakes you up. The brain suddenly becomes alert. So caffeine is, of course, one thing, but the bitterness in any of this will take sloth away. It's like somebody waking you up. The whole brain gets a gentle wake-up call, if you will. Again, in any of these, overindulgence always messes up things. And when you buy organic, then you are less prone to be addicted to it. I think nature doesn't intend certain things to make you addictive. But when we add chemicals, then we tend to become more addicted. So hopefully this has given you a little more clarity in how you can bring all 6 tastes in your diet. Now, as part of the sadhana, as we continue with water, I talked about shower, and a gentleman, Mr. Prakash from Trinidad, wrote to me and said, "Can you explain this mantra?" We were advised by one of my dear brothers, Vedanarayan, who's blessed by Baba himself to teach and to teach Veda. So this is a very powerful, very beautiful, wonderful mantra that you can chant when you have a shower every day, or when you just fill water in a bottle every day and keep it for drinking for your family, or you fill water for your coffee. You can just chant it mentally once, because when you chant, understanding what it is, we learn it. Your emotional vibrational pattern, the level of your vibration rises, and therefore healing energy is produced internally, and that affects the water. That is what water is so connected. Don't think of a physical distance. I'm not touching water, how can I be connected, and all of that. The connection is far more deeper at a much different level. Okay. So what is that? And when you do that, the spiritual healing energies of the water comes up. So what is that mantra? It goes like this: Gange cha Yamune chaiva. Many of you from India may already be aware of this. Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jane Jalesmin Samnidim Kuru. So in English it goes like this: Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidim Kuru. So we are calling upon 7 holy rivers. Now these are physical rivers, and I'm sure as I even say this, some of you are thinking, but Ganges is so polluted these days. How can I think of Ganges as a holy river anymore, and all of that? The Ganges is polluted in the plains, not in the Himalayas. When Maya and I went to the source of Ganges, Gangotri, and went beyond to the glacier, and even beyond, it's one of the most amazing places. So the source of these rivers is what you meditate upon, not the river that you see in the plains. Okay? The energy that Himalayas have, that energy is there in many dimensions. I don't even know how to explain. Someday, hopefully, the divine will put the right words in my mind and in my mouth to share that. It's a very different experience. Experience is one thing, but when these waters flow from there, they carry with them, I'm not talking in terms of minerals and all of that. The pure pranic energy, a divine energy comes here. So Himalayas can be considered as the Sahasrara chakra of the world, of this planet. That is what really sustains to a large extent and controls a lot of things in this planet. So when you meditate on all these rivers that somehow find their source eventually in the Himalayas, because they're all tributaries eventually from there, we call upon 7 rivers. Maybe they are connected with the 7 planes of consciousness. We don't know that. It doesn't matter. You don't have to figure and analyze so much. What are the 7 rivers that we call upon? Ganga. Now, these are not just because it's in India, we call upon only Indian rivers. Forget India and America and Europe. This is the planet. And in this planet, ages ago, in civilizations, thousands and thousands of years ago, the rishis discovered this place. Right? That time there was no India and China. Everyone worshipped these rivers, these sources of these rivers. So understand it from that perspective. Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu, and Kaveri. These are the 7, right from the top to the south of India. We cover the 7 rivers. India is like straight with arms stretched out. It's almost like a human being. And you have the spinal cord and all of these, the rivers form like nadis, bringing prana into the system. So that is how it is. So you got to visualize that these are the holy rivers that sustained our rishis, our sages, gave birth to so many thousands of generations that later on spread and became the world. That is the beauty there. So call upon this. What are we saying? When we take this water, in this water, may these energies of Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu and Kaveri, may the energy come and settle into this water that I'm drinking or that I'm bathing in. Jalesmin, in this jala, whichever I'm holding or I'm feeling as I'm standing under the shower, Jalesmin, Sannidhim, come close and sit, settle. Sannidhim Kuru. Sannidhim Kuru. Otherwise, it's just mentioning names. It's not a very complicated sloka. Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati. We are saying and Ganga and Yamuna and also Godavari and Saraswati. That is how it says. Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari and Saraswati. That is the first line. Gange cha Yamune chaiva. Cha means and. Chaiva means cha and eva. And indeed, Godavari and Saraswati. That's how the poetry goes. Gange cha Yamune chaiva. Godavari Saraswati. Narmade, Sindhu Kaveri, all the three names. Narmade, Sindhu Kaveri. Narmada, Narmade. It depends on the poetry. It flows like this. Narmade, Sindhu Kaveri, Jalesmin. This Jala, all of you come into this. Jalesmin, Sannidhim Kuru. Sannidhi is come and settle. So fill your water, fill the bottle of water with that. Use it for cooking. A very short prayer like this slowly begins to energize your consciousness, brings in the water element, and when the water goes in like that, blessed, it will definitely help you, not only from a physical health point of view and healing and building your immune system and all of that, digestion and all of that, but it like electricity in the water, it will begin to generate an energy that you can use for spiritual purposes. So, Narmada, Sindhu and Kaveri be present in this water. So once again, you can read it along with me if you can see it on the screen. Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidhim Kuru. Kuru means do it. Kra is always karma. Kuru, come, settle down. You're giving an order. Well, when I say order, it's not like you're not ordering, but there's no please come and there's no begging. There's none of these chants have a victim mindset. Okay, you're saying come, because you're part of the universe, right? You are engaging them into your consciousness. So it's a very beautiful way to invoke the energy of water. So may Mother Ganges bless us at this moment as we chant this and learn this mantra. All right. Now comes the last part of it, Kechari Mudra. Kechari Mudra and water element. So let me put these slides because they all come together. Kechari Mudra is, let us say this, it has to do with the tongue. Okay. Kechari, K comes from Kha. Kha signifies space. What kind of space? The space, where is space in the body? It's in the mouth and the throat region, right? The nasal cavity, the mouth cavity, the throat, all of this becomes space. So in space, there is movement, chara. Chara is movement. In space, there is movement. What is moving here in internal space for us? There is breath, of course, but more importantly here, the tongue, you're going to move the tongue here. Kechari is where you move the tongue in that internal space in your mouth. Okay? So, Kechari Mudra is the main mudra. We're going to get to that mudra by learning one kriya called the Talabhya kriya. Okay, that prepares you for Kechari Mudra. So, assuming this is the tongue. Okay, this is your tongue sticking out, right? So now, Kechari Mudra is taking this tongue and rolling it back, rolling it back, rolling it back. Okay, I'm not very good with my tongue. Let me see, one second, let me go full screen here. Okay, there you go. So this is the tongue, right? So you take the tongue and you're going to roll it back. Back where? Back towards the nasal passage. It is trying to go back, and it is going up. Why is it going this way? Why is it going back and up? Physically, it's impossible. But I mean, I shouldn't say impossible. Let me take that back. It's very difficult and improbable for most of us to do it. But it doesn't mean we don't get the benefit of it. I'll come to that. So why is it going back like this to taste? It is going back to taste that nectarine ambrosia, the amrit as it is called, the nectar, simple to say, that is secreted from the sahasrara. Now this is at a very pranic, a very astral level. There's no physical juice that is really trickling down from there. Yes, we will say it's serotonin, melatonin and all that. That is one way to understand, and that they are physical manifestations of this pranic energy, but there is a lot more energy that comes in. That is why the Jalandhara Bandha prevents that ambrosia, the nectar that comes in, to just straight away go and merge into the body. Then it becomes poison actually. That's why Shiva contains the poison in his neck. Why was that story there? Because below this, what will happen is, when you take that energy from there and you let it go down very fast, then it becomes poison, so you contain it. Kechari mudra with Jalandhara Bandha and all of that helps in maintaining that meditative frame of mind. In other words, you are containing the whole experience of that consciousness, of that meditation, of expansion, and everything that the brain is beginning to absorb. You're holding it in above the neck, and the tongue goes to taste that, experience that. When the tongue begins to go back in Kechari mudra, and the tip of the tongue begins to taste the roof of the mouth right at the back, then what you and I think of as theory slowly begins to come down as experience. That is the power of Kechari mudra. Forget all the other benefits of it giving you immune system, and it can counter poison and snake bite and all of that. Those are all incidental, right? The main benefit is what you thought of. What is expansion of consciousness? What is Shiva consciousness? What is all that? That experience happens through Kechari mudra. Kechari mudra, as it goes back and up like this. That's the tongue, right? The tongue is... and I'll demonstrate that for it, but I want you to picture it better like this than seeing my mouth. So the tongue that is out like this or tends to go outwards, that means you are trying to experience and taste things that's outside. Now you're taking the senses because of sadhana and prana, you're moving that tongue backwards. In other words, the water that is going down begins to move up. This tongue going back begins to draw the water energy up. How will it be drawn up? Through the fire. So we have to understand fire element, because only fire can draw. Electricity from water has to be drawn to move that energy up. So the water goes, when the tongue helps in that connection. So Kechari mudra practice helps in that. So you take the tongue back and you try to taste. So in your imagination, you say, I wanted to go and block the nasal passage. Let it go back, let it go back. So it is going backwards. Now in traditional practices, there is this section. There is an anchor here that holds from the bottom of the tongue till to the mouth. There is this frenulum, as it is not the tongue frenulum or the frenulum in the mouth, the extra piece of skin. Now the sexual organ also has frenulum. There's frenulum in your lips. There's frenulum in the vagina. All that means is external skin. So there is this the extra skin. Extra skin here. This part, right? That frenulum has to be expanded, stretched out. You have to get it, make it more flexible so that the tongue will move back. So in in schools, what they would do is they will slowly begin to cut that. So don't even try that. Those kind of things is out of context. Okay, I've not done it. I won't recommend all those kind of things. So I'm not going to discuss about that much, but I'm just telling you that there was a school like that. They would cut it. There are still schools that will do it. There a guru will monitor it, and they will cut it, put hot pepper so that it won't heal, and it remains, so your tongue will go back. Now that's forcing your body to do something. So we leave that. But what is the other way? The other way is to create flexibility in that section, so that the tongue begins to move very easily inside the mouth. That movement itself helps in Kechara, Chari, Kechari, it becomes. Ka and Chara becomes K and Chari, Kechari, mudra. It seals, it becomes a seal. Very powerful technique. When you sit for meditation, you take your tongue upwards and back and close your eyes and keep your tongue there relaxed. After a while, it just becomes habit. Automatically, you'll be drawn within. Automatically, your senses will go within. Okay? How is Kechari Mudra done? Kechari is, it is simple to understand, but as you go on practicing, you will experience the benefits of that. Okay? How is Kechari Mudra done? You open your mouth, tongue goes back. You close your mouth, the tongue has gone back. The tongue stays back like this, right? As you close your mouth, the tongue stays backwards. Teeth come back together, lips are gently closed, mouth is relaxed. And then you begin the breathing from the ujjayi, the breath. Focus on the tip of the nose or focus between the eyebrows. Very beautiful experience happens. So this comes with weeks and months and years of practice. So keep practicing. So you can keep moving the tongue. You notice my throat here. I'm rubbing the tip of the tongue against the roof of the mouth, going backwards, going backwards, going backwards. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times. And then slowly it settles down. Okay? So that is Kechari Mudra. Now, in order to become better, there are some schools of thought, schools of yoga that teach you what is called the Talabhya Kriya. Okay, we saw that in this Talabhya, the Talabhya Kriya. So what is done here is that here the tongue, we want to stretch this. The objective of Talabhya Kriya is what? To stretch this. To create flexibility in the frenulum. So how that is done? Now, again, if this is the tongue, instead of rolling it backwards, you want to take it up and place the tongue in the roof of the mouth. It becomes like this. Think of the tongue like this, like an S shape. The tongue has to go up, and in the front, up here, you roll it so that the tip of the tongue touches the back of the tongue here. And you press the tongue. So the tongue is an S shape. It forms like this. Right? The tongue is otherwise out like this. So this is this part of the tongue. I want to explain it. So bear with me if I'm going a little beyond time. But I want to cover it now. So this is the top of the tongue, right? So this, you take it up to the roof of the mouth like this. Form an S. And this S, you press this all the way to the roof of the mouth. Press it almost like it forms a suction cup. And then open your mouth wide. You will feel the frenulum stretching. So let's try that if you are game for it. So stick the tongue to the roof of the mouth and open your mouth. I'm not rolling the tongue backwards, okay, because that's a common mistake people make. Don't roll it backwards. I'm not rolling it back. That is Kechari Mudra. Talabhya Kriya is simply taking the tongue that is sticking out, you're just taking it and pressing that against the roof of the mouth. And open the mouth, stretch it. And then release it with a click. There's a click sound comes. So you have to press it so hard and then click. So it not very easy, but it will come with practice. So that's how you have to practice. Try 10, 15 times the first day. And then give it rest, because you'll feel a little sour, just like any other muscle, right? So don't overdo it on the first day. So try every 10 times in the morning sometime, maybe in the shower, after you brush your teeth or something like that. Talabhya Kriya. Keep on doing this Kriya on an everyday basis. Then within a few weeks, you'll be able to do 20, 30 at a time, and that's good enough. Just keep it. It'll keep the tongue flexible. Okay, I'm not promising the lengthening of the tongue and all. It doesn't happen to me. But it really doesn't matter, because the tongue becomes very flexible. So you can comfortably go into Kechari Mudra and leave the tongue locked in there at the back. I can spend 2 hours with my tongue back rolled up and I won't even notice. Sometimes it goes automatically when I go deep into meditation, the tongue rolls back automatically. So for that to happen, you have to prepare the tongue, right? Otherwise, your mind will come back crashing saying, oh, my tongue, what is happening? So if you are in the yoga sadhana, if you're interested in practice Talabhya Kriya every day, little by little, and leave that. Let slowly, that door will also open. So that is the beauty of Talabhya Kriya and Kechari Mudra. So hopefully this video has been useful and you're at least got an idea of how to do this. The benefits of Kechari Mudra, I said, instead of simply listening something from the scripts and texts, most of them we can't even put our minds around, saying that he'll live forever, he'll conquer death and conquer immune system, snake bite cannot affect, and all of those things. We're not going to be experimenting those things, right? So I'm not going to simply parrot like code that. But I want to tell you one benefit is, because you're turning the tongue backwards, the water energy begins to move upwards, and you will truly feel an elevation in your consciousness and your sense control that we talked about. The link between the tongue and the sexual organ, the reason, the necessity, the need to harness this powerful energy of the water in order to draw the prana from the water. All of that comes in addition with all the other practices and proper food habits and all that. Kechari Mudra becomes a very, very powerful practice. I want to end this class, because I want to keep this as the last class. It's a very short video. I want you to watch. I will share this video also separately in the yoga playlist, and I'll share it along. It will be there as part of the yoga. There's a playlist called Yogic Kriyas and Mudras. So I will put this in that. This video will explain to you in short how we do the Viparita, Karani, Mudra. So let's watch that video and then we'll bring this class to an end. So thank you so much for your patience. I will come back. So hang in there. This is about a 5-minute video. Let's watch. Take a listen. Namaste. Welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam. In this short video, I'm going to teach you a very beautiful, powerful mudra called the Viparita Karani Mudra. You see that on the screen below. Viparita means reverses. Karani is that which reverses the mudra. So mudra is the pose. That which reverses what? Reverses the blood flow in a physical sense. Reverses the pranic energy. So the energy of the apana vayu, which usually goes down, reverses its trend and everything starts moving upwards. reverses the aging process itself. So everything is reversed. So this is a mudra that is practiced to control the water element, to channelize the water element. Water flows down, obeys gravitational laws. So when you do it this way, in the Viparita karani mudra, you're reversing the flow of the water. In other words, just like you take electricity from the water, which moves up, water goes down, but the water energies are harnessed in such a way that electricity is drawn. That is what we are doing here. So prana, the energy of life force, gains tremendous strength and vitality by this pose. How do we do this pose? All right, let's get going. So here is a cotton bolster. I strongly recommend a cotton bolster because it doesn't go all the way down when you put your weight on it. So you have a cotton bolster to practice with, and this is how the beginners can practice. Sit on the very edge of the bolster, almost as if if you let go, you're going to slip and sit down, right? Almost to the very edge. And then you're going to lie down. So this way what happens is when you lie, the bolster supports your lower back. If you don't sit on the edge, and if you sit right in the middle and you start lying down, you're going to slip off the bolster and come off. I want the bolster to support your lower back, which is why we start from here. Okay, so you lie down and gently lower your body down. Take support of your elbows, slowly lower your body down. That's pretty much it. And then you're going to bend your knees, both your knees. Bring it to this position. Slowly begin to straighten the knees. If you need, you can take support initially. Straighten your knees. And you can rest your hands down and stay in this. That's it. It's pretty much. Now watch my neck. It's very relaxed here. Reverses the flow. So blood flow comes here. This portion acts as a dam. And then the blood flows very gently to the upper regions of the body and very gently into the face and the brain. So this is excellent exercise for hypertension, blood pressure, and all of that in a physical sense. The prana energy moves up towards the Sahasrara. So it's a very beautiful practice. Can be done prior to meditation. Can be done as meditation itself. There are people who, once you master it and you can stay in this for 10, 15 minutes, you can go into meditation as well. Now, once you're comfortable in this position, with your hands down, you can slowly raise your hands over your head and place it up like this. Even more relaxing. Breathing in and out. Try and use your chest to breathe. Try not to move your stomach. And watch my stomach here. You don't want your stomach going up and down like this. You want to pull your stomach slightly in and use your chest to breathe in and out. Deep breathing. You can stay in this pose for 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, however long you can comfortably stay. At any point you feel tired, your legs are aching, just bend your knees slightly. Bring your feet down for a few seconds. Once you're comfortable, raise it up. Now when you're new initially, your feet might be like this. Slowly with control, you will learn to get your feet perpendicular to the floor. Once you're done, what you're going to do is first bring your hands down, gently bend your knees, place your feet on the floor, and then lift your hips slightly up, push this bolster down, rest it under your knees, and lie down with your back fully rested on the floor, go into Shavasana. Lie down in Shavasana like this for 30 seconds to about a minute, allowing the blood flow to become normal. And then you can slowly turn to one side and sit up gently. That's pretty much it. It's a very simple exercise, but simplicity doesn't mean it's less effective. Okay, this is one of the most effective, more effective than all the asanas put together. It's an amazing exercise. People with high blood pressure and at any age can practice this safely. Of course, women who are going through menstrual cycles, you cannot do it during those days. I wouldn't suggest you do that during those days because nature is taking the energy away from the body. You don't want to reverse that flow of blood into the body. So that won't be beneficial. But other than that, and of course, if you have had any surgeries and things like that within 6 months or so, then don't attempt these things. But otherwise, this exercise is wonderful. Now I'm going to show you, for those of you who feel, how about doing it without the bolster? What is the actual pose? So I'm going to go from the bolster and go back and forth between the bolster and the pose without the bolster, just to show you that these options exist. So we start again the same way. I'm going to sit on the edge, lie down gently, go into this pose. Right? This is where we started. Now what happens is you learn to take the weight of your pelvis on your wrists. So you first lift yourself up. Again, this is for people who are a little more advanced, practiced yoga, who can lift the weight of their body easily. So lift your weight up, rest your hands under, and get your feet perpendicular to the ground. Your whole weight of your pelvis rests on your wrists. Breathe in and out. So this is the Viparita karani. Half shoulder stand. It's also called the half shoulder stand. Again, the neck is very relaxed. You should be able to turn your neck sideways, back and forth. If you're tired in this position, just lower yourself onto the bolster. Take a few seconds rest. Maybe even bend your knees. When you're ready, go up again and try. Now this may seem very easy, lifting your body and resting on your pelvis. It's not as easy as it looks because it needs a lot of strength on your wrists and support. So you have to try this very slowly along with other yoga routines. But I'm just showing it to you just for the record, that this option exists for those of you who are able to do that. But you can get pretty much the same benefits by this pose. So benefit-wise, it's exactly the same. Breathe in and out. Slowly come down. Coming down is as important as going up. Push the bolster away. Rest the bolster under your thighs and lie down in Shavasana. 30 seconds to 1 minute. When you're done, then slowly roll to one side, of course, and get up. Viparita karani mudra. Try it. See how it appeals to you. If you have any questions or comments, you can always email me at sundar@kyg.org. Thank you for watching. Namaste. Sorry. So thank you for watching. And with this, we are going to close the chapter on the water element for now. We will revisit this again and open another layer as we go along, as we continue to study, and if the context prevails. But now there is enough of homework for you and I to take home and practice. Let us bring this class to an end with 1 Om and 3 Shantis. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.